You're watching France 24. Time now for our daily look at the international press. Ruben Easy joins me in the studio. Good morning, Ruben. Now, I know Russia is a country dear to your heart, so let's go there first. How is Nicolas Sarkozy getting on with Putin?
Well, we've been looking around. It's probably the biggest sort of international story in today's papers, looking for something a bit interesting. We'll start with Libération. This is a French left-wing daily. Now, they've got an interview with the head of the Russia programme from France's Institute of International Relations. Quite an interesting tidbit in there. He said, for Russia, one of the key interests for Russia in France was the fact that it was not part of NATO. Now, Russia, of course, still sort of Cold War legacy, not too keen on the idea of NATO. Rather like the fact that France was not part of NATO's central structure. He's saying if that changes, which it may do in the future, in coming years, that Russia will no longer be interested in France very much at all. So that was an interesting point of view, I thought. Moving on to Al Hayat, this is an Arabic paper, looking at it from the Middle Eastern perspective, unsurprisingly. Now, their columnist saying what Nicolas Sarkozy really needs to do, and what lots in the Middle East are hoping that he'll do, is persuade Mr. Putin to not support Iran and Syria, particularly with regard to Lebanese elections. So that's the main thing they're hoping from there. On the Russian side, we can go to Rossiyskaya Gazeta. This is very much a pro-government sort of newspaper, pointing out the sort of different stakes from each side. For France, of course, France is interested in these big geopolitical issues, you know, Kosovo, Iran, human rights, even no mention of that in the paper, it has to be said. But as far as they're concerned, for Russia, they're saying all that matters is money, sheer economics, and Putin is not going to be wanting to talk human rights or anything of that nature. Lastly, another Russian paper, Kommersant. This is sort of a business newspaper. They've got a nice piece there, although it has to be said there's very little in the way of analysis. It's more colour. Their reporter was at Putin's dacha. He said his first impression was that the French president seemed to me nervous. He shifted listlessly, gestured extravagantly, though French journalists assured me, however, that that was the president's usual behaviour. So not hugely complimentary there. And a bit of scandal perhaps at the end. He said the two men left in Mr. Putin's reinforced armoured Mercedes sped away in the darkness as if they were in a Formula One race without turning the headlights on. I think that's fairly usual behaviour.
Goodness me, how risky. Well, moving on, some of France's best-loved cultural treasures have had a bit of a bashing this week, of course, with a hole being punched in a Monet at the Musée d'Orsay, but they're even risking sending their treasures abroad now, the French. What are they thinking of? They are.
This is the new project for the Louvre. This is in today's Figaro, the sort of right-wing French paper. You can see a rather stunning photo they've got there. This is a design for a new sort of wing of the Louvre, but in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates, which could see hundreds of France's favourite paintings going to the Middle East. But in return, they'll be getting around about €1 billion in return from the country. Some seeing this as a great example of cultural sharing, others not too happy at all. One critic striking a pretty apocalyptic note, saying this spells the death sentence for museums as we know them.
Goodness me. And finally, Ruben, you promised us that some weighty issues are being addressed in California.
Absolutely, not the usual funny ending. This is the World Pumpkin Way Off in California. You can see that astonishing photo. There's a man there with an astonishing name. He's called Thad Starr, and that's the world's heaviest ever pumpkin. It's 691 kilos, which is about 10 times my body weight. But he got $6.73 per pound for that pumpkin, which might not sound a lot, but it actually works out around $10,000. So lucky Mr. Starr.
Goodness me, a slight case of pumpkin doping perhaps even there, Ruben. Very worrying.
With steroids.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you very much indeed to Ruben Easy with his red hair too to go with those pumpkins. Thank you very much. And we're here on France 24. Stay tuned.